One conversation, three perspectives, honest debate on the story shaping the travel industry.
Each episode tackles a live issue, big trend, or hot debate from across the travel industry.
Every week, we'll be joined by guests for honest conversations, strong opinions, and lively debate.
I'm Andy.
I'm Will.
I'm James. Welcome to Let's Talk Travel. Imagine running a company with 350 people spread across 7 countries who have never shared an office. Now imagine trying to roll out artificial intelligence across every single department of that company, from sales, customer service, product, marketing, without a single in-person training session. That's exactly what our guest today has done. Frank Marini started in a mailroom of a travel company as a teenager. Today, he's the president and CEO of Railbookers Group, the largest independent rail holiday tour operator in the world. On that journey, he took a week-long course at MIT on leading an AI-driven company and came back determined to put AI in the hands of every single employee. In this episode, we talk about what broke along the way, how you train a fully remote team on technology that's changing every few months, and how Railbookers built its own internal AI knowledge tool, and the big question, whether any of this can actually be the blueprint for the rest of us to copy. Here's our conversation with Frank Marini. Welcome to Let's Talk Travel. Hi, Frank. I'm genuinely been looking forward to this one. But before we get into your backstory and all the amazing things Railbookers is getting up to, I have to share to all our listeners how we actually met. Because Frank and I were both at this year's ITT conference, and not only was Frank presenting, but he was also lucky enough to end up sitting next to me at a Travel Zoo hosted lunch. And over that time we spent together, I got to learn a lot about what Frank's mission is at Railbookers, but also the inside track and all things Disney. So since it turns out we're both huge fans and he knows far more than I do. So Frank, it's safe to say this conversation has been a long time in the coming. Let's start right away at the beginning. For you, how did it all start out? Because there's an amazing story here that it all started out at a mailroom at Colette Vacations when you were a teenager. So how did you get into traveling in the first place? And what did you kind of learn in that original segment of your life that has led you and you've used at Railbookers?
Very cool. Well, first, James, great to see you, and thanks for having me, pal. And so, for myself, I started it in high school in the mailroom, working at Colette Vacations as a job, just in the mailroom. So that's kind of how I started. And from there, sending out brochures to customers and travel agents, that was my gig, and that was great. Didn't think much about travel at the time. It was just kind of a job to take. But then from there, kind of went into marketing as an intern. Same thing, from mailroom to marketing. Sending out slideshows to our salespeople on the road who do presentations to travel agents, but then started to track who was requesting the most slides, what presentations, Canadian Rockies, what they were doing, and starting to look and then comparing that to their revenue. That was kind of the beginning of my journey in travel and just starting there. And then from there, graduated college, got into law school, but decided not to go to law school because everyone, including the intern, got a chance to go on a fam trip. So I went on a fam trip, Kentucky, Tennessee, Branson, which was cool. I was like, hey, wow. That's cool. But I came back and I wrote a memo at the time of how we should change this fam trip because I was watching the customers at the time because we'd go with travel agents and customers. And we started the fam trip at the Opryland Hotel in Nashville, which is a beautiful, grand hotel. But that was the best hotel we started with. And I thought, you should put that at the end, not the beginning. And we did different things. And I was just observing that the customers, and I thought how we should change that. Fast forward, the owner of the company got that memo, met with me and said, hey, these are some good ideas, changing the itinerary around. And that kind of was the beginning of, hey, maybe I should try travel and put off law school for a year. One, I can get to go on these trips. I've never traveled anywhere. And he's listening to me as far as my focus, just paying attention to customers. And that's kind of who I am today. In my mind, I'm still the intern. I'm still the same thing, paying attention to customers because they'll tell you what to do if you really listen to them. So that's a little bit about the journey, how I started.
What an amazing story. And I can totally relate because from my backstory, when I started off in travel, I did go to university and I went into travel. But from my perspective, it was the same thing. I started off and I was encouraged to start off in sales. And I didn't want to be in sales. but I quickly understood all the gripes sales had with some of our marketing collateral. So I quickly went and worked in marketing and did the sales job to change the collateral and make it easier and also help conversions. So
Yep.
I I completely relate to you there. And now flash all the way forward, you're at Railbookers, it's 2020. Walk us through what kind of happened in your eyes, because you're now fully remote in this world of people still now trying to encourage people back to the office. And how did that all come about?
Yes. So back then, when we all went home for COVID, right? So we all went home, and we had offices at that time in London, Boston, here where I'm based in Southern California, in Sydney. So we all went home, and within about 6 months, as business was obviously much slower and smaller at that time, uh, we realized we're honestly more productive being at home. Number one. Number two is we saw that some wonderful people in our industry lost their jobs that we could hire, but weren't in those geographic areas. So we started to hire some wonderful people in our industry, but they were in different locations. And from there, I just made the commitment to say, let's just stay fully remote. We were all still home anyway, but let's commit to it. Let's hire some of these wonderful staff. And when we started to think about every department as a 24/7 shop, not just contact center, but accounting, software engineering, because we were getting flooded with resumes. And today, we have about 400 staff today in 7 countries around the world, and we average about 155,000 resumes a year coming towards us because we're fully remote. And when we hire today by department, we actually look on Earth to see where we should put them. So we've got teams in Perth, Australia, London, you name it. So every department becomes a 24/7 department. So that's kind of how it started. And really, it's been a key to our growth because everything can run. All of a sudden, every department, instead of an 8-hour day, became a 24-hour day, in a sense, with the same amount of people. Even the most staunch, including myself, I'll be honest, I was the most staunch against remote. Prior, when we had offices, I had staff that wanted to go remote. I'm like, absolutely not. And I was 100% converted. We did have a few staff that it didn't work for, a handful, maybe 3 to 4, that they really missed the socialness, the camaraderie. They struggled in COVID, period, from being home all the time, and it wasn't a good fit for them. So they ended up leaving the company. Wish them the best at the time, but the majority actually stayed. When I say remote too, a couple things. We're very interactive as a company, and I'll give you some examples. Number one, everyone has to be on camera at all times. Number two, we have lots of not only meetings but committees that we actually put people on to make sure they're interactive with others, right? We still do a global summit, our own global summit, where we bring people together. We have regional get-togethers. So it's not that there's no we have fam trips, obviously, today that they go with each other. So it's still very interactive. So it's almost like you get the best of the both. But we did have a few staff, maybe 4, from that original group, that it just wasn't a right fit for them. And then throughout the course of the past 6 years, occasionally we have a person that comes on board that it's not for them. They need that interaction, but it's a small minority.
And then during this process of this kind of evolution to keeping everybody from home, keeping everyone connected, the other big evolution at the same time is AI, and how much AI has evolved into not just our daily practices, but everything. So from work to home to life, it's evolved into everything we kind of do. I'd love you to just explain how your AI journey really started, because you shared this obviously in your keynote speech, but I think it's such a great one for our team to listen to.
Oh, sure. So our AI journey, our mind in the company, started a few years ago, about 3 years ago, where the end of a few years ago, I think it was 2023, where ChatGPT started to come out, and you started to hear about AI, and it was new to me, even though I've learned after, since it's been around for many years, that I said, hey, I got to get ahead of this, and I got to lead from the front. So the first course that really came out was at MIT, saying leading an AI organization. So I signed up to take that week-long in-person course, and it was really a game changer for me personally, but in the company. Um, Taking that course to understand AI, to learn from the smartest and brightest on earth, people from all over the world coming to that course. And it was really interesting, having people from Google, Amazon, SEAL Team 6, the military was there. I'm like, what are you guys doing here? And, people from NASA was there. I'm like, okay, wow, I'm just the travel guy. Right. Hi. But it really, really understanding what it is and what the capabilities and how different industries have been using it for years and the things that they were able to do with it, but to really give us a foundation. And that was the first step, to really give us a foundation, to really look at every role in the company, to decide, break down every role by tasks, what should be done by a machine, what should be done by a human, to roll it out with everyone getting access to it, right? So we got an enterprise license, so everyone to play with it, to not be nervous about it, to be comfortable with it, and then to put some measurements on it, what you can all of a sudden do because you're so much more productive, and then some guardrails on it too. So that was the beginning, and we're still on that journey every day. We're absolutely learning every day as it gets faster and faster and what it can do. And it really is just an amazing thing. There's negative sides to it as well. You got to be careful. The work slop, where it summarizes so much, it says nothing, a bunch of adjectives, right?
Mm.
De-skilling, some staff where they don't know how to do anymore. And I joke sometimes, am I talking to you? Am I talking to AI? Like, do you know how to do that? So it's a balance, but it is an amazing tool that is really helping us on our scaling and growth, productivity, and learning, because it can take so much data and look at it all in one sense and break it down
And did you find any reluctance, because change management? I've got books behind me on change management. I've been there, I've done that. I've gone into businesses and worked on change. And one of the big things you have with change is sometimes what is perceived as a positive change for many is either daunting. It actually can be the reverse. It can be, I don't want to change this. I don't want to be this AI kind of person in the business where I'm now becoming a middleman. Did you feel friction from staff? Did you get any pushback? And if so, how was that managed?
Yeah, there's always a little bit of that no matter what. So we definitely had a little bit of that, and we continue to. But it's a little bit. We don't have as much because I'm so transparent and sharing with everyone in our monthly town halls what we're doing, what we're trying to do, myself personally. So we have minimal of that. But the ones that do it's really, they don't like the change, and we're a company built on change. I mean, that's the only thing we know is change and scale. So, but how we kind of handle that is, it sounds weird. I want to get everyone talking. I want to get everyone sharing, even if it's what I don't want to hear. So even in our monthly town halls where we're updating the company, we have breakout sessions. Every month we have a breakout session with everyone in the company. We would pose a problem to them or a challenge or an opportunity, AI related, and we get their feedback. They have to submit feedback, what they like or they don't like. So that helps us, bubble up any issues that people have. We can address them, and there's nothing off the table that we have. You can bring up anything and anything, and we try to address it, because what I do find is once people understand the why, they're much more understanding of change. What I find is sometimes on the change, they don't understand the why. They get nervous. My role, why are we doing this? And there's a lot of sharing. There's a lot of examples that we're giving. You still have a small amount that some people just don't want to change at all. You have that, but that is a minority. And I think how we approach it, because we're very transparent of, we're looking to do this, I'm trying this, I failed at this is succeeding, but this is the why we're doing this. And the last thing I would say is, there isn't a time when we're talking about AI that we're not talking about our customer or our travel agent. That's our main reason why we're doing this, is to provide better service, make it easier, faster. So they're there at the center of anything we do, and we relate it. It's like, hey, it's not just to be more productive using this AI tool. It's because it gets an answer to our customer or travel agent faster, making it easier for them. So that's always the center of in our explanation. It's how we operate.
So your AI is technically like a vault in the middle of the business that's got multiple inputs to it, from both feedback from staff members, but also it's taking all your booking data, it's taking as much information as it can to create data sets, which is then ultimately looping everyone, always kind of up to date, keeping them informed. Is this now for you as a business proprietary tech that you're just going to continue to invest in and involve? What's the journey from now, say, for the next few years?
Yep. So what we did is, from that first MIT class, I hired one of my classmates to help us in our software engineering team to build our own AI knowledge-based
I hope
system.
it wasn't a Navy SEAL.
No, it was not. No, it's not. He's a professor in Chile. He's a PhD in Chile. He's much smarter than me. So we hired Ricardo to help us, and we built out what's called fast tracks, where we took all our knowledge on rail, where to sit on that one train that you see the Matterhorn on that one side, things that you can't find online. And we built that system over the course of a year and a half. And that system is still learning today. It's still, we record every call that comes in. We get about 5,000 calls a week, and it isolates the questions, just the questions we get asked from customers and travel agents. And I have a team that curates that every week and then make sure the right answer is put into fast tracks, as well as monitoring all the questions that are asked from our own team in fast track. So it's an internal team. So it's a living, breathing thing that is proprietary, but it really normalizes for our whole staff everything about rail, train, this, no matter what rail system on earth, it doesn't matter because they're all different. So that's really helped. And we're looking at other ways to use that in the future. We're not putting that externally, but maybe a piece of it externally after you make a booking, that maybe you have your AI concierge that can answer some questions, how to read the German ticket, right? How does
Yeah.
that work and things like that. So, yeah.
And in this environment we're living in, whilst there's so many positives being talked about AI, it would be remiss of me not to mention that we're talking about in the newspapers articles on AI potentially wanting to take over corrupt businesses, you know, get access to companies and, you know, insert viruses. Uh, is there a downside? Is there a risk? Or do you think that the way that you've set it up, Railbookers, is kind of running its own identity of an AI?
Yeah, I think there's always risks, to be honest with you. I think the way we set it up is right for us, and that is we went into it. I think when you go into it, you ask yourself, what problem are you trying to solve? And I think for us, we wanted to solve an internal problem first, and that internal problem is every rail system on Earth is completely different. How do we make it easier for everyone to be an expert on it, knowing the amount of questions we get? So we solved an internal problem first. So in that sense, it's a proprietary, it's a boxed off system that we manage, govern itself. So we've set it up that way purposely, and we set up guardrails for our team in terms of enterprise software, enterprise licenses, how we want to use that. So in that sense, I think we've boxed it off, correctly, and how we're using it, managing it. It's a self tool with the customer at the center of why we're doing it. I think the downside of it, and what we're always monitoring, is some of the things that I mentioned, is making sure the use of AI from our own team's perspective isn't diluting their own knowledge, right? So it's not producing work slop. It's just summarizing to all adjectives. It's not de-skilling them, that they all of a sudden don't know how to do that anymore because AI did it for them. So they don't know the nuts and bolts of how that works. So those are some things we're always cognizant of. And making sure we're not AIing too much on certain things. Like, okay, you actually got to do the work so you have a better understanding of it. So those are some ways, but we're cognizant of it, and making sure there's a lot of governance with that. There's the humans definitely managing that on our side to make sure it's not producing the wrong information, because we do get, you'd be surprised, we get every week lots of customers that go to AI that will search a rail journey that they want to do, send it to their travel agent, who will send it to us to quote, but that rail journey doesn't exist. There is no rail line in that area. Maybe it grabbed it from a PDF that someone was thinking about it years ago. It doesn't even exist. So there's a lot of the hallucinations externally, but because we manage it internally, we can say that there is no train that goes there. There's no train to Hawaii. Like, it doesn't
No, I get that. And asking AI to help me with some maps recently, the journey it took on one of the maps was straight across a lake. And I thought, yeah, it's clearly not read the map correctly, and it's decided just to put a car road straight through the lake. So there is definitely a bit of learning there when it comes to AI. Can I ask you, this is maybe a bit of a curveball for you, but knowing what you do about AI, knowing the evolution that Railbookers has been through, when you shop, when you work and buy stuff of other businesses, or are a customer, do you see these really bad uses of AI and think to yourself, my gosh, they're using AI in the wrong way, this business? You know, when you see these AI chatbots, or you see AI being used for forms of marketing, do you see those bad examples?
I do. I do. From being into it so much, and not just that first course. I've taken many courses now at MIT on AI. I can immediately spot when something's been AI'd, right? Where they're everything. They leave the dashes in the comments. They have
Yeah.
the icons on there, right? And you can just tell it. And you come away reading some different marketing saying, "What did that just say?" So you can see that. And I think the miss, in my own opinion, with some companies as they approach AI, very different from us. We approach AI to better understand, serve our customer, and to listen to them because we actually want to talk to them more. So we want to make it easier for them. So it's more for our inside team. Other companies, what I see, they almost create AI and in their marketing and chatbots so they don't have to talk to their customer. It's the opposite approach. And I think
Yeah.
that's the miss, right? Because they create AI, like, oh, we'll create this AI bot, or we'll create this AI. So this way the customer can just interact with the AI bot and we don't have to deal with them. But that's actually where the learning is. The learning when it comes to customers is always, interacting with them, is talking to them, is to see, what's important to them, what they're looking at. AI is meant to be just an assist on that. So that's where I see the miss at times from other companies.
And if we're wrapping up the AI conversation, and this is probably $1 million question for you now, if another CEO, travel or otherwise, was to kind of ask you for your insight on AI, would you provide technically the Railbookers blueprint and say this playbook, this blueprint is kind of the route you want to do, or would you suggest another route to go depending on their company? What do you think you've created this blueprint here at Railbookers?
It's a good question. I think, for us, I'd always share here's our blueprint on how we did it. And it's also based on the time when things were coming out. I think, and happy to always share what we did and where we are today and how we learned today, because how we do things today is very different than a couple of years ago. But I think for, another CEO at a different company, it really depends on what problem you're trying to solve. It's like, what are you trying to solve, and being clear on what you're trying to solve. And I really do believe in leading from the front. It can't be like, hey, AI is this thing that everyone's doing nowadays, so we need to do that. So let's get someone to just start doing that for us so we can say we're doing it. You actually have to
Mm.
do it yourself. You actually have to start getting into it, because that's where the learning is, and interacting with it to define what problem you're trying to solve and which way you want to go. So that would always be my suggestion to whoever. And many other CEOs that I talk to are doing that. They're into it themselves, whether it's personally, professionally. So they're seeing the power of it because they can correlate that more with their own company to say, okay, based on that, here's the opportunity that I have, the problem I want to solve. How do I lean into that, the AI, to assist in these areas? So that would always be my suggestion. And it's funny to me sometimes, defining what problem you're trying to solve is the challenge for people. They don't actually know what they're trying to solve. They just know the shiny thing we need to do, but they don't know what for.
Mm.
And I think AI is just a tool. You have to define what you're trying to solve first.
I completely agree, and bringing the people on the journey with you. I know at Railbookers you've encouraged people to lean forward, lean into AI. Don't feel that I'm there to try to suck all your knowledge to then make you expendable. Correct?
Correct. Even on my last town hall a few weeks ago, again, once a month with our team, as I said to everyone, which sometimes they don't like how transparent I am, but I always have to be honest. I said, I said to the team, I said, hey gang, if you're just typing, if you're doing this all day long and you're not picking up the phone, talking to customer, vendor, each other, at some point AI will replace you, because you're just going from keystroke to keystroke. And I said, what AI will never do is have the human connection, have judgment, have empathy. And I said, you need that. We're in the travel business, right? So this is a want, not a need. And I said, we'd like to talk to our customers, travel agent, vendors, each other, to learning. There's all different destinations. And I said, I love AI and I assist, but it'll never replace the human if the human's doing the right thing. If you're just trying to do this thing all day long and not have that human connection and communication, that's part of the problem. So we're very transparent. We lean into it a lot. We want the team to lean into it, and we encourage them. How are you using it today, and how has it helped you? And we share that in department meetings. Well, even if it's personally, because it'll spur another idea. Like, oh, that's a great idea. I never thought about that. So yeah.
Frank, it's been absolutely brilliant. I've got so many more questions for you, but I'll end on one final question, which is Railbookers, flash forward 5 years. how further do you think AI will evolve Railbookers as a business, or how far do you think Railbookers will evolve AI in its business?
I think, I think sky's the limit for us, partly because of the space we're in. Rail travel is really, I'm so thankful to be in our space, because rail travel is really like the sleeping giant that no one really thinks about. But partly because sometimes even the rail companies don't have great data, because you and I can just walk, buy a ticket, and get on the train. They don't know who we are. But but you realize in most countries around the world, there's rail infrastructure already in place. So that for us is a huge opportunity. We're in a space where we have, knock on wood, we have unlimited leads and unlimited inventory, right? So it's this middle piece we're working on. That's where AI comes into play for us, is how we can go from, I call it concept to credit card faster, right? And AI helps us in that journey from a travel agent or customer, serve up the answers to the questions they haven't asked yet, but we know that they will get to and ask, but also the questions they do have, to make a decision based on a product or service that we have, with rail as the main connector in those different areas, whether that's luxury rail, national rail, scenic rail, you name it. That's kind of our space, and we're locked in on that. That's our focus. We know what we are. We know what we're good at. We know what we're not, and that's it. And AI definitely, because it's such a fragmented space, AI gives us a solution in that space to make it easier in a very fragmented space, which I love the fragment, and I love the complexity, because that's why we exist. So, yeah.
Thanks to our sponsor, Travelzoo, the club for travel enthusiasts. Join Travelzoo today for hand-picked deals exclusively for members.
I am going to be an avid fan and watching Railbookers, but before I let you go, Frank, it is a tradition here at Let's Talk Travel to challenge our guests with 5 questions in our Talking Travel, Talking Twaddle session. And this would usually be hosted by my lovely co-assistant, or I'm going to call him a co-assistant just to wind him up, Will. But unfortunately, he's not been able to join us. So I have got his 5 questions for you. And I think he's been quite generous, because we have some rail themes here.
All right.
So, well, this could be positive for you, or it could be challenging, because if you get these all wrong, you might get some pressure.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as I said, travel is true, twaddle is false. And the first question for you is: the world's first passenger railway was the Stockton to Darlington Railway, opened in England in 1825.
I'm not sure on that, so I'll say true.
Correct. It is travel. It's true. Well done. That's 1 point. Question 2. China has the largest high-speed rail network in the world, with more track than the rest of the world combined.
I'm going to say, and they've been really developing for a lot, so I don't know, but I'm going to say true on that as well.
Correct. 2 out of 2. He's on fire. Okay. The Garn train in Australia travels coast to coast, connecting Sydney and Perth. Travel or twaddle?
It does. So you go from Adelaide throughout. I'm going to say for the Garn and then the Indian. I'm going to say twaddle on that one.
Correct. 3 and 3. The Garn runs north and south between Adelaide and Darwin.
Yep.
Very, very good. Okay, 4. You could be on for the record here. India's rail network is the largest employer in the world.
I know that they are. I think I've read that 1 in 9 people work for the Indian Railway. So I'm going to say true on that. I'm going to say true.
It's twaddle. The first one. It's one of the largest employers in the world. But the title for the largest single employer actually goes to the US Department of Defense.
I think they're the largest rail line. Okay, yeah, yep.
And then the final one for you is the Orient Express originally ran from Paris to Istanbul.
Yes. True.
Correct. 4 out of 5. That is a phenomenal score. I think you go second on the leaderboard. I think there is one person who's got 5 out of 5.
Nice.
Dare I say it, it was Will, and I asked him the question, so everyone is judging me on that one. Well, Frank, that's all we have time for today. I want to say a huge thank you from Let's Talk Travel and myself. I've loved meeting you and loved walking through and reminiscing some of those things that you shared at ITT. For everyone who's enjoyed today's discussion, would love it if you subscribe, share, review the podcast. And of course, you can catch us and follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube by searching Let's Talk Travel. Until next time, thanks for listening.